if you're an actor and you're cast as a basketball player, you kind of need to be able to play basketball.
You sure do.
If you're cast as a pilot, you don't need to be able to fly a plane. As an actor,
it helps.
You decide? It would help. How do you decide whether or not you really need to be able to do the things your character can do?
I think it always helps. That's a good question. I mean, I always feel like that's your starting point, because you want to get it. You want to get the experiences in your body. You want to. That's the directest way, the most direct way to inhabit something, because once you get in motion, a rhythm takes over, and then you sort of reorder the thoughts. And as I said before, you learn things that may change you and may take you to a new place. And when there's an opening for that kind of transformation, that's when something is made. That's when something can be possibly true. That's when something can be alive. And that's why we, watch entertainment or gravitate towards, art pieces or something, because they inspire us and they allow us to get away from the kind of all the things that kind of wear us down in life and open us again to the wonder.
Absolutely. You guys created so many fake Van Gogh. Are there Vincent Van Goghs now floating all over the place?
There are some. There was a whole. He was very prolific in this period that we deal with in the movie. He's living with his paintings because famously he's not really selling them. So you see them. So it was necessary just to be set dressing, but also it was an exercise for me. Julian taught me how to paint for this movie, and it was important from a practical standpoint for me to know how to paint, because there are scenes where there's no stunt hand, we aren't cutting, so right. Julian can do it. Sometimes he'd start things and I would work an area, but basically there's one scene in particular where I painted a pair of shoes, and that was done in real time.
Right.
I had coaching on it and I practiced it, but that was done in real time. And I think it's beautiful in the movie where you can see that thing that initially just looks like a series of marks, looks like these blobs of color, and then slowly it starts to look like something. It isn't a good it's not a literal representation of the shoes, and then it pops. And you think, wow, that expresses. You can understand how that expresses what he is saying. It's not a literal, perfect copy. That's not the point. He captures something deeper.
There's a great scene in the film where Van Gogh says that he was born to be a painter and there's not really anything else he can do. I'm curious to hear if you equate that to acting. Do you feel like you were born to be an actor? Is there nothing else that you can do?
It's what I like doing.
Yeah?
And so far so good.
It's worked out pretty well for you. Is there ever anything else you've ever thought about, like, if I weren't an actor, I'd like to do this?
Yeah, sometimes you have a fantasy, but I've been doing this for over 40 years, so, and I've, always worked, so it's what I like to do. Mm-hmm. So after 40 years, you think, yeah, this is what I was supposed to do.
I think many of us would say, yeah, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay. When I love when someone makes a biopic, when they focus on a certain period of someone's life, rather than try to capture the entirety in 2 hours. I like focusing.
In fact, I don't even think of it as a traditional biopic, Correct. Really. I mean, it's as much about painting, and it's also, it's really about creative process.
Very much so.
And it doesn't really account necessarily for who Van Gogh was. It's an imagining of who he could have been and events that may have happened. One of the things that I love about it is you actually see painting, you actually see things made, and you actually hear his own words that have been taken from some of his letters and some of the scenes. So you can sit with the activity of painting next to some of the things that he struggled with, some of the revelations he had, and for me, it's very inspiring and really wakes me up.
You mentioned the creative process. Yeah. Hypothetically, this is sort of a weird question. If someone were to make a Willem Dafoe biopic, but they wanted to, if they were going to, and they were going to focus on your creative process for one of the characters you in your career, who do you think would make for the most interesting movie?
Oh, it changes all the time. Listen. Sometimes I think Well, this isn't a novel idea, but you know, who we are is always changing, and the idea that we have a fixed personality is really an illusion. I mean, it's about the rising and falling of things, and that's one of the things that I like about performing is you can enter these worlds and kind of imagine things outside of your experience and outside of your impulse. And when you do that, you learn things and it opens you up. And I think one of the things that's fun about being an actor and is useful about being an actor is when you go through those experiences, you can take an audience through those experiences with you. Not by showing them, but by doing them, by doing these things that they can watch and they can be with you.
Right.
And in the case of this movie, that's very true. You do see painting, you do see me out in nature, you do see me dealing with some sticky social situations.